This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago. Welcome to Chicago.
This is Chicago. Doors open on the left at Chicago.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming from the 606 Media Studios, this is the TCSF podcast with Big Z. In the house, we got Stevie B for the No One Weekend podcast, and we got JC Dynasty Fantasy Football. At episode 230 is brought to you by 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com while supplies last, because this is our last month with Grit Clothing Company, and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago. Use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Go and get your official merch now. Hey, I still got some black merch at here, so if you're interested in some of that, I'll sell those t-shirts for $10 each. Get them while they still last, while we change everything up to our new company. We're looking to redesign a bunch of stuff, so if you want the OG stuff, I still have the black shirts with the white print with the TCSF pod right there. So hit up your boy. If you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, on X, on Twitch, remember to hit that subscribe button.
Smash that button.
That's right. And if you're on your favorite podcast app, remember to give us a 5-star review and leave some kind comments that'll shoot us up on the charts. That'll help us out. So you can do that. You can also drop us some coin by going over to anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Go over there and click on the support button and subscribe for as little as 99 cents a month. Come on. Hook your boys up with a little bit of coin so we can get some new designs for the t-shirt guy so he can do his thing. You know, we got to pay the guy. Nothing is free in life. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to the rest of our lineup. Podcast with Big Z. Season 2 is in development. I already recorded a couple of episodes, so I'll be editing those. You also have No Water on the Weekend with Steven and Sean, a pop culture podcast that dabbles in funny trivia, film, television, music, and Chicago-centric happenings. I was just on their latest episode. Did that drop already, Steven?
Yeah, that's up and running. Sean took care of it.
Woohoo! Way to go, Sean. Shout out to Sean.
Sean took care of it. We're good to go. We had some fun in the room here. It's a little yellow right now, but you know.
Yeah, it was a fun episode. It was fun. I love being on an episode with you guys. It's always a lot of fun. And congratulations to get your little studio going now in your spare bedroom. Nice little couch there. You got a nice little setup, and we'll continue to make it a lot better. We'll work on your lighting and sound and all that stuff. So it's a big congrats to you. And if you want to find any of our podcasts, any of our videos, any audio stuff, you can go to 606media.com. You can find all 3 podcasts on there. You can go, it'll take you directly to the newest episodes that are available, or you want to go to the archives, go ahead and go through that. Everything is there, and it's updating on a weekly basis. So go and
breaking news, I am on vacation next week, so I am going to try and get my podcast up and going very soon.
There we go.
While I'm on vacation next week, I'm going to see what I can do to get everything lined up.
My God, breaking news.
Finally going.
It is breaking news.
So thought I'd share that. I mean, we're getting into the off season, so we're going to start looking at prospects. We're going to start looking at fantasy football guru stuff. So like I said, it's about time where I've put it off as long as I can to kind of go with the flow of the next season rather than like start at the end of this season. So
no, it makes sense. No, I'm excited for you, man. It's been such a long road to get you to this point, and now that you are unequivocally like jumping into the deep end, this is great. So when do you start vacation?
Sunday. I work Sunday, and then I'm Monday through Monday.
Wow,
so
nice.
So you do work Sunday?
Yeah, so I work this Sunday, and then like I said, I'm off Monday, and I'll be up at the lake house secluded. I'll be skiing throughout the week, enjoying that. We actually have some snow up there, so but like I'm gonna try and get it going. I got nothing else. I'll be secluded up there, so during the day when I'm not skiing, I'll be trying to work on that.
Beautiful. In the programming note, next Monday, which I forgot to tell you guys off here, next Monday we're going to go a little earlier. We'll probably go like 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, just for a scheduling issue that I have. So I'm pretty sure the boys that should be available are around 4 or 5
I'll
o'clock.
be on vacation. So
Yeah.
I should be available,
Yes.
and I have
Steve is on
the
vacation too.
portable podcast set up there.
Long vacation.
Yeah. Well, it's next Monday is MLK Day, so I will be off, but I have a scheduling issue with another. It was recording, so it'll be an earlier show, and hopefully we'll have a new Bears coach at that point. So without further delay, episode 230 options, because there's tons of options. There's 20 names for the Chicago Bears that have been named as options that have either interviewed or will be interviewed up at Hallis Hall or through Zoom, because not all of these interviewees are being able to either go there, or they're not going to spend the money to bring them. One name that's off the list is Mike Vrabel, which we kind of anticipated last week, where we said the Patriots job became open and that's where he's going to go, and he did. So we're okay with that, boys, or are we feeling down on that?
Honestly, I guess. I mean, I don't have any pros or cons against it. I mean, good luck to that guy. I mean, I would have liked him as the Bears head coach. Need some experience.
Mm-hmm.
I know we talked about it yesterday in private with me and Big Z about, you get these coordinators, they've never been a head coach before, like, can they do the job? You want someone established, and Mike McCarthy is on the table, and I'm tired of hearing about Mike McCarthy. I honestly don't want him to come. It sounds like another John Fox hire. If that's the case, that's what it reminds me of if we hire him. John Fox was a great coach in Denver, but other than that, not really anything else when he came here. I think he was at the end of his tour, and he didn't want to do it anymore. I think he got burnt out here with the organization, probably upstairs too. So,
yeah. JC, what's your thoughts on Vrabel being gone, and now the new hot name that's out there as available is Mike McCarthy?
Well, as you know, Vrabel was number 2 on my list of head coach candidates that I was hoping for. We talked about last week that, once the Patriots opened up, that, it was kind of a foregone conclusion that he would eventually end up there. I wish it wasn't so quickly, just because now with Dallas opening up and, Tom Brady colluding to get Ben Johnson to interview with Vegas, it's one of those where potentially 2 of our top candidates, the top 2, may be gone here very shortly. And as I was listening to Sirius XM NFL radio earlier today, they said, was it 46 new head coaches in the past 5 years?
Yeah.
And they basically said there are a lot of openings this year. You do not want to be the last team, finding a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully the Bears, with their 20 candidates, gets it down to about 5 very quickly. Because we do not want to be the one sitting on the sideline getting the scraps that are left over.
Yeah.
I feel that's what's going to happen. Honestly, we always wait till the last minute and we get the coach that's, someone experienced or for the name. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't want to be shopping in the broken toy box. Essentially, that's what I don't want to be shopping at. Obviously our number 1 choice is Ben Johnson. There's other names like Brian Flores, who's up in Minnesota, and they're playing today. You've got Todd Monken, another great name. You got Pete Carroll that was looked at in an interview. You got Anthony Weaver, Joe Brady. Let's see, Aaron Glenn, Pete Carroll, as I mentioned, Cliff Kingsbury, Arthur Smith, Drew Pretzing, Mike Kalfa. I don't know how to say his name. David Shaw, and then obviously they will interview Thomas Brown. So and they also interviewed Ron Rivera yesterday.
I don't know why.
I
don't think he could see out of one of his eyes, honestly.
Let's not do that. Let's not take personal shots at the man. He beat cancer, man. Let's not do that. Chico Ron Rivera interview with the Bears.
That was a bad joke. I take that back.
It was a bad joke.
That was a bad joke.
Send hate mail.
I forgot about that for a second. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, he did. Oops.
Yeah, he did. I love Chico, and I think he can run a pretty good defense. I think at this point in his career, he's more of a defensive coordinator than a head coach, because you saw what happened in Carolina, where he couldn't manage Cam Newton. Then he went over to Washington, and that became a debacle. And yes, their ownership at that time was horrible. But he's kind of always had the short end of the stick when it comes to a team that he comes to take over.
Go ahead, JC.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ron Rivera, I think it's one of those, he a leader of men? Yes, but he never really chose the best coordinators.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's an outlying issue with him. And he's not going to really progress the quarterback situation. We're sitting here talking about all this stuff, and the more we talk about it, the more that Joe Brady up in Buffalo is climbing my list as one of those guys where they have the third best or first best like red zone completion for scoring in the red zone. You look at the fact that they're doing it without Stephon Diggs, and they're producing. And it's one of those where, yeah, you got a great quarterback in Josh Allen, but at the same time, they're doing a lot with a lot less.
They don't have a great offensive line too, so that's another part of it, right?
Yeah.
And then Joe Brady and Ben Johnson both have great offensive lines, so they're able to run and they're able to pass, provide the quarterback with some time to run. It's a big difference. So we're looking for those guys to change the culture, and not only that, but change how we approach drafting and start drafting interior linemen for both offense and defense. We mentioned Monken. Monken's a local guy. I don't know how you guys feel about Monken or even Anthony Weaver.
I have no thoughts on him, honestly.
Weaver's spent 3 years in Baltimore. He's a culture changer. And then he did the defense for Baltimore before jumping to Miami. So then Monken's almost 60 and kind of like a young Pete Carroll type of guy. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many options. And after interviewing so many candidates, it's going to be like a whirlwind. Like, what did this guy say? Or what did that guy say?
To me, like, it's one of those where, like, you look at Todd Bowles, right? Yeah, he's a great defensive coordinator, but at the same time, look what he did with Tua. Like, he sat there and talked trash about Tua, basically said Tua was no good. Then you get a Mike Daniels that comes in, and all of a sudden, Tua's an all-pro Pro Bowler. So it's like, which is it? Like, you can't have it both ways. So it's one of those where, like, guys like Todd Bowles, like, no thanks. I'd rather have the Joe Bradys, the Cohens, the Cliff Kingsbury, but the problem is Dallas to me is a great place to go to as a head coach candidate. Jacksonville, great place to go as a head coach. Why? Because you look at the Bears and you go, wait, the Vikings were 14 and whatever. The Lions were 14 and the Packers were 10.
Yeah.
So am I really going to go to the hardest division in football with a team that, even though, like, we almost beat all the teams, we almost beat the Lions, we almost beat the Vikings, we did beat the Packers last game, but at the same time, you sit there and look, like, as a head coaching candidate, why would I go to the hardest division in football when I can go to the Cowboys that have Dak Prescott, have CeeDee Lamb, have Micah Parsons, etc. Or I can go to Jacksonville that has Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, and all these other guys. Travis Etienne. Yeah, you got to put a defense together in Jacksonville, but Dallas, all the injuries this year with Dak, especially, they could have been a playoff team, but too many injuries. So, this is where I kind of have been saying, like, I don't know that we're going to end up with Ben Johnson.
Yeah, I don't see Ben Johnson saying, "Hey, the Bears are number one place." He's like, he said he was interesting, and he said they have a lot of talent right in Chicago. But if you look at like what you said, like this is the hardest division. Now you're going to be playing your mentor. Why not go to Vegas in a weak AFC on the other side? You're only playing Kansas City. That's the strong candidate over there. Who else? Denver's up and coming. Who else is up and coming over there? Texans. I mean, kind of almost the same thing. It's a hard division over there. Jacksonville. Who's in that division? Is that the Buffalo Bills?
No,
no, they're
Jacksonville.
south.
Is it Atlanta?
No, that's NFC. Jacksonville's AFC. That's what I'm trying to think of. Like, who is the AFC South? Someone pull that up. Like, what's the AFC South?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up.
Like, it's got to be a lot easier road than the NFC North or the AFC
Texans,
West.
Colts, Jags, and Titans.
Okay, nobody's scary there.
Well, just the Texans, but that's pretty much it.
The Texans are in year two.
This year,
Texans are in year two. They're beatable. All right, they're not dominating anybody. So I mean, again, you like JC said, maybe you want to look at the road down the line at what's easier for me to take the time that I'm going to be taking, build on it, and be able to be successful in the NFL. The NFC North is stacked for the next 4 or 5 years, right? I mean, how long is the Detroit quarterback going to be there? We have uncertainty as quarterback in Minnesota. Are they going to go for the rookie, or are they going to go back to what they have? We know that the Packers are the Packers, just like every year, just like the Packers and the Brewers, same thing. We know who they are. They're going to be every year. So that's something to look at. I mean, I'm fine if we go to Joe Brady. If Ben Johnson's like making us wait, Joe Brady, let's go.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've basically said, whoever it is, we need to make sure that, essentially they can hold our players accountable. I think for way too long with Trustman and Nagy and the club dub and all this stuff, they were too lax on the players. They did not hold them accountable.
Yeah. And,
you see like Stevenson on the Hail Mary and some lapse of, concentration. And to me, it's one of those where we got to find somebody that's going to bring a harder style, a Lovie Smith, where, hey, I'm player friendly, but at the same time, I'm going to hold you accountable. This is business.
Yeah, I heard just like a couple stories about I just had his name on top of my head. He was a former coach at Tampa, Tony Dungy. How he would chew guys out without swearing and make them feel so small for not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Like you kind of like the grandpa that still kind of sounds like a dad still at some point, and you don't want to disappoint him. That's kind of what you need, a culture changer, hold you guys accountable. I mean, I think the NFL is done with the Mike Ditkas, well, I'm so bad with names. I'm so just drenched, drained. Yeah. Jesus, why can I think of there's no more Belichick's, that's all gone. If Steven would have did that for Belichick would have cut him at the end of the game. You're not getting back on the team plane. You don't have that anymore where it's my way or the highway. Now it's all a panel and discussion and we'll have a conversation with the player about his lack of focus.
Well, a lot of that
your only job.
a lot of that also stems from these head coaches aren't around long enough. You know,
Yeah.
in the 80s and 90s, you'd had coaches that were there for 10, 12 years. You know, now it's head coaches last 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, because it's one of those, what have you done for me lately? And well, guess what? Not every team can go to the playoffs every year. Not every team can go to the Super Bowl every year, right? It's 2 teams a year. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and I credit the Steelers for, you know, Mike Tomlin, you know, keeping him around for as long as they have. Yeah, like he's had a couple bad years here in the past couple of years, but guess what? You had freaking Ben Roethlisberger for how many years? That's why you were good. Now, guess what? The Steelers are looking for a quarterback, whether it's, you know, Russell Wilson or it's Justin Fields or whoever. Guess what? They're looking for a quarterback. And now their team is not as good. And now that he's had like 2 or 3 mediocre seasons, the fans are out for his head. And it's, like, it's not his fault.
No, I was literally having this conversation at work, and I was like, you know, what if Tomlin becomes available via trade? And I'm like, okay, I would say he's a leader of men, check, right? Proven winner, check. Coach the NFL, check. But I'm like, do you want a coach that has a
coach?
Yes,
he coaches players.
Yes,
and that's the problem with the Bears is the Bears have coaches that do not know how to coach.
Yeah, I said I think it would be a great move if you can't get your top 3 candidates. Call Pittsburgh and be like, hey, is it time for a change over there? Is he available? And what would it take? The worst thing you can hear is no. They hang up the phone. All right, cool, move on. But you got a proven winner, even with crappy talent. And it's because they always win 8 games minimum. So they're kind of like the Bulls, where they just stay at 500 or a little bit below 500, and they make the playoffs, and then they get the 12th or 14th pick. It's hard to build a team with that high of a pick year after year after year, and then you don't develop it. So I call them the Bulls in the NFL. They're middle of the road. The only thing is different is that they have a better coach. The Bulls have no coaching, in my opinion, but whatever. So again, for me, I would say if it's Ben Johnson, great. If it's Joe Brady, great. Vrabel and McCarthy, no. Obviously, for whatever reason we just talked about, no Carroll. Kingsbury, I think he's happy in Washington. I'm not sure that he wants to be a head coach at this point. I think he's going to let it simmer and have more success before he pops off. Other than that, it's a toss-up.
Yeah, I don't expect much. I'm expecting disappointment and keeping my expectations low. I don't know. We're just beating a dead horse at this point, and it's like, I don't know.
Well, the NFL is more of a year-round sport now, because we talked about the NBA issues, right? But baseball's bad in the city. The Blackhawks, like we talked about, they're rebuilding. This is a Bears town, whether they're good or bad. People don't mind hearing and talking and debating and arguing about the Bears all year round. So while we're beating a dead horse, it's kind of a horse that you have to beat, just because everyone's still interested on who's gonna fucking be on at the head of the table. And then it's like, all right, we've been through this. We've seen this carousel. We know what the ride is going to feel like. We know what it's going to be. So are we going to be able to pick the right person? And then you go back to, all right, well, they picked the right coach who's kind of online with, contract-wise with the quarterback. But the GM has got 1 or 2 years left, and he's a lame GM. So, and then we continue to do stuff kind of backwards. And it's irritating that we know how this movie ends, and I don't want to see this movie again.
Or at least for a while. I mean, at least give me 5 years with one coach or something. I don't know.
Well, according to George McCaskey, it doesn't matter if the timelines of the GM and the head coach line up. He's never heard that being a factor in all the years. Listen, I think it's time for you to sell the team. If you've
It's-
never heard that it matters for the head coach and GM to be on the same timeline, bro, I don't know where your head's at. Are you an
This
ostrich?
is their third GM in their history of being the Bears. Their third one.
Yeah.
I don't think he understands football operations.
He doesn't. He's basically said, "I'm a fan. I am not a football guy."
I wonder if he's in the rooms with the interviews.
He is.
Probably.
He is, you know, he's probably the.
I want to know who's in that
I don't
room.
want to use the word, but he's the guy sitting in the corner
Mhm.
watching everything else happen.
Yeah,
Or he's
playing
got like
Sudoku.
that one glass, like at the police station. He's behind there.
I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, but I mean, you're gonna have, you have your president, your GM, your assistant GM, your head of HR, and your owners. I mean, that's why I would see that would be in those rooms for those interviews. I don't know who's gonna be on the Zoom. How intense are these Zooms? Like, can you really gauge someone's interest or someone's passion through Zoom?
Absolutely, you can.
That's
You
right, because we do it every
definitely
week
can
on TCSF podcast.
There you go. Get the
There we
energy
go.
back.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
set that up.
like I understand not bringing in like some of the people, like, hey, like the Kafkas and some of those guys, where it's like, hey, what we're gonna do a Zoom meeting. But if you do a Zoom meeting with Ben Johnson, are you kidding me?
I hope not.
Like that's what we're talking about. Like, if I were Ben Johnson, I'd be like, you're not a serious organization. Like, you're not even gonna bring me in to have a chat with me.
They still haven't interviewed, right?
They interviewed Rivera this morning, Thomas. I know they've already done Pete Carroll. They did Vrabel. I thought I heard that they did Ben Johnson, but I don't know about the defensive coordinator from the Lions, Glenn.
They did. They did.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah.
But like I said, to me, like when I heard that they were doing Zoom interviews, I was just like, we are a bottom class organization. Now, again, you don't have to bring in all 20. I could understand, like I said, the guys that, hey, we're going to kick the tires on this guy, but he's not really a serious candidate. So we're going to do a Zoom with him. But like I said, you're not going to fly in, and maybe they did it to accommodate because, Brady and Cohen and some of these guys, they're in the playoffs right now.
Right.
So like, hey, we're trying to get an initial interview in and not inconvenience you too much and fly you in and etc. But again, the Vrabels and the Pete Carrolls and the people who are not in the playoffs, you didn't bring them in.
It's not like you don't have the money to fly them in.
Well, I thought Pete Carroll was in person. That's what I thought.
Who knows? What
They could have
reported,
flew him in and then still done a Zoom.
Yeah, it's
He's at the hotel.
Like Steven said, they're hiding behind the two-way mirror.
Yeah. Gruden has been in the city. I don't know, he's probably gone by now, but he was in the city for a couple of days.
He was messing around with Barstool.
Yeah, he was hanging out and drinking Malort. Steven's favorite drink.
That's all right. It's not my favorite, but it's Sean's favorite. That's for sure.
Sean's favorite, yeah. Yeah, that's so. Someone asked me, like, oh, would you hire Gruden? I'm like, absolutely not.
No, I wouldn't either.
Absolutely not. That ship is sailed. It's a lot of baggage. It's a lot of baggage.
The whole email thing, and yeah, I'm glad Barstool resurrected his career. Good for him, but I don't.
It's the baggage. It's the bringing in Antonio Brown and how he handled that. Does he know his X's and O's? Yeah, but
do you really blame him or do you blame Antonio Brown? To me, I blame Antonio Brown.
Who brought Antonio Brown? You know what Antonio Brown was. Who brought him in? Was it the coach or was it the GM?
If I remember correctly,
I thought that was the coach.
So
maybe. I mean, again, again, is it better? Any of those options better than what we had? 100% it is. But we need something that's sustainable for the next 5 to 10 years, like your JC you're saying. We need a coach that's sustainable to be here, to set a precedent, to set a culture, and to set a brand. Change the narrative on this brand of the Chicago Bears of just bearing it up. Like everything is just done opposite, backwards, wrong. I mean, I'm tired of losing. I am tired of losing as a Bears organization. It's irritating.
Well, when the Bears are winning, everyone's happy. When they're losing, everyone's just miserable.
Yeah, the whole city's that way because everyone's cheering for the Bears. And there's a couple outlying Packer fans in the city. Whatever. Go back to Wisconsin. I'm good with that. JC, anything else on the Bears before we take a quick break and talk the rest of our sports teams here?
During the weekend, I was doing some work for my business and had some time while I was doing such, and I did a couple mock drafts, and it was, you never know who's actually going to fall and where they're going to end up. It's very early in the process. But I did a couple mock drafts, and let me tell you, I scored heavily in the trenches doing these mock drafts. So it could be very, very interesting on what the Bears could really do this offseason. If we have the capital to go out and sign some guys, Trey Smith from Kansas City is, obviously my top target as a guard. He's 25 years old, Pro Bowler. So you get him in, and then, like I said, you sitting there at 10, you can either have Kevin Banks or Will Campbell potentially there, one of the two. Then you have a couple other guys. If Kevin Banks and Campbell were to be gone, you could potentially trade back a few picks. And there's another offensive tackle, Josh Simmons, who is from, I believe, Ohio. And he has been touted as potentially the best tackle in the class, but he suffered an injury. So therefore, he was he fell on the list, and Campbell and Banks took over as the top two tackles due to his injury. So there's still potential, like a potential of trade back situation if those top two guys are not there, or if those top two guys are not there, if you have conviction that Simmons really was the best tackle in the class, go ahead and take him. Then in the second round, I was able to grab I don't know how to pronounce his last name because he is a Samoan. It's like Savai. He is a guard as well. Again, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I won't even try to butcher it. Or there was it's Savaiinaea. So
okay, good luck.
yeah. But again, so I was able to pick him up in the second round, and or Tyler Booker. Those are the two top guards in the class. And I was still able to pick up some pretty decent edge rusher. And or another gentleman's name is Shamar Stewart. So that's another name I've been looking at as well. He is a 4-3 defensive end. Depending on if we stay in the 4-3. Shamar Stewart is a name that, I was kind of looking at. So those are a couple names I'm throwing out there. Again, locking up a left tackle. Then moving on to guard, signing free agent Trey Smith as your guard, and then grabbing an edge rusher or defensive lineman in that second round. That's what I kind of was throwing my hat at. So there's a couple names.
Yeah, it's a good way to start. I did as you were talking, I pulled up the mock drafting, and as soon as it was a Bears turn to pick at number 10, they're like, "Oh, you have 3 trade offers," and I was like, okay, from 10 to 14, and then a second round pick." I'm like, "Nah," and then from the 10 to 18 with another second round pick, "Nah," and then Philadelphia was like, "Hey, we'll give you pick number 30, number 62, pick 94 this year's draft, next year's second, and next year's third." I'm like, okay, now we're talking. But would we want to go back all the way down to 30, which is pretty much the second round, and then you would literally have 3 second round picks?
Okay, if you're going to trade back that far, right, then there is another left tackle that we can look at. Let me look up his name. Wyatt Millum. He is a left tackle out of West Virginia. So like I said, if you were really willing to trade back into the 22 to 30 range, Wyatt Millum would be the 4th tackle that you would be looking at. And like I said, you still walk away with a plethora of picks. You said, what was it, 60 and a bunch of others?
Yeah, 30, 62, 94 in this year's draft. So you get 3 for 1, and then 2 picks in next year's draft, a second and a third. I think that's a pretty good haul.
Oh yeah. Now, will somebody want to do that? I don't know.
Probably.
I have a feeling that there's going to be more trade talks at the very top of the draft, because I really don't think the quarterback class this year is worth any team really taking a guy. So I have a feeling, Tennessee and these teams are going to want to trade out. Potentially trade back into 5-8 range, and some of these teams at 8 want to jump up and grab a Travis Hunter or some of these wide receivers, or they may jump up to get tackles. I mean, even Abdul Carter, the defensive end. There's a defensive lineman, Graham, out of Michigan, listed in like the top 10. So there's potential where, I could see some of these top teams, they don't want Ward, they don't want Shadur Sanders, and then, there's some movement at the very top of the draft of, some of these top 3, top 5 teams, moving back, and other teams moving up to secure some of their what they want. So that does worry me a little bit that Will Campbell and Kevin Banks won't be there at 10, potentially, because some of these teams are going to jump the Bears to get the offensive tackle, because every team knows what the Bears want, what the Bears need, and they're willing to jump us. So that could be a potential issue.
Steven, did you have something to say before we jump off the Bears and take a commercial break?
No, I was just listening to JC because I didn't know we were doing mock drafts, or else I would have done one.
Yeah, let me tell you, I did a couple mock drafts and I shared it in my group chat with my buddies, and my one buddy that's a Packers fan was like, "It's playoff football. What are you doing mock drafts?"
Our season's been over since week 6.
I was like, first off, our season's over. Like, this is all I have to look forward to now, is like going over some of these prospects. And second off, like, I was literally doing work for my business, and I was basically every 7 minutes I had to get up and change out what I was working on. So in between those 7 minutes, I did a couple of mock drafts, so but like I said, we'll see what happens. There's going to be a lot of risers, a lot of fallers. We're going to see, who the, underwear Olympics risers and fallers are. There's always those every year. Who's got the short arms that, and that's one thing that, a lot of teams are saying. Will Campbell, he is the best offensive lineman in the draft. However, they think he has T-Rex arms and that he should play guard instead of left tackle in the NFL. So we'll see.
Either way, we need it. We need a tackle. We need a guard.
Yeah, look, if he's the best offensive lineman in the draft, I don't care.
Right.
We need the whole offensive line. Yes, we have Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright still, but everybody else on that offensive line is potentially replaceable.
You draft offensive line, like until you get it right. You keep drafting offensive linemen.
Absolutely.
You know what this team needs? Bring back the Honey Bears. Bring them back.
I saw a Instagram short reel or whatever about the Honey Bears and like we're cursed.
The curse of the Honey Bears.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bring them back.
I did meet a couple Honey Bears at Output.
I know you did. You had a couple digits too. Good for you, man.
Yeah, I got their cards. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
See if we can bring on a Honey Bear on the show.
Rawr.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, true Chicago sports fans, show off your Chicago pride with some fresh clothes from Grit Clothing Company. At Grit Clothing, they create that simple yet classic style that represents that Chicago Southside lifestyle. From t-shirts to hoodies, hats to glassware, they've got you covered. Grit has everything you need to represent your Chicago pride. So do it right now. Check out gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15.
TrueFan15.
For 15% off your entire order. Let me say it again. That's gritclothingco.com and use the promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off of your entire order.
What up? It's Martin Moreno, and you are listening to True Chicago Sports Fans Podcast.
Back to the TCSF podcast with Big Z in the house. We got JC Dynasty Fantasy Football, and Steven is watering his plant, his ficus. Oh no, he's actually coughing up a lung over there.
Sounds like he's having some struggles.
Yeah, he's still coughing up a bunch of mucus. There he is. He's alive. All right, great. I'm
alive. I just went to the kitchen and the commercial break was over. I'm like, man, that was fast.
60 seconds.
Well, it takes me a minute to get to the kitchen from here.
All right, boys. The Bulls won the other day. That's all I'm going to say about that. They've been winning one, losing one. Zach's got a streak of 5 games with 30 points. Again, there's nothing to be excited about with the Bulls. Tons of talent, can't produce a winning team.
When's the trade deadline? It's in
right
February, right?
All-Star break. Yeah, after the All-Star break.
So are we going to trade these guys like sooner or rather than later?
Yeah, they were talking about Vooch going over to the Suns, and then we were talking about trading Lonzo to Charlotte and Zach in like a 4-team trade to Los Angeles. But like you're picking up all these bad contracts of these guys that are not worth it. And then the Lakers made a couple of trades and moved some people out. Again,
the question to me is, are they expiring contracts? Because at least if they're expiring,
I think most of them were expiring contracts within 1 or 2 years. But you got to remember with the NBA, you have to match money. So it's a little bit more difficult. So again, I'm sorry to say this. It's just I'm not excited about the Bulls. Even with Zach scoring 30 points, it's not exciting because they don't play defense. The NBA is just so watered down at this point. This AAU mentality, it's all about me, and I'm just going to run up and down, shoot a 3-pointer, and run back and not rebound. I love Vooch. I think Vooch is used incorrectly. I've said it for a couple of years on the pod, but the problem is that they don't use him correctly, and he is soft. Anytime he plays a big center, he disappears. He doesn't bang and try to get a rebound. He's hanging out at 3-point line, and I understand that's the NBA, right? You got the centers like Lopez from Milwaukee. He became a 3-point shooter, and he's very viable for them. But then, what the hell is the point of having size?
I don't know.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. So,
Blackhawks are same thing.
Yeah, well, the Blackhawks have 14 wins right now. They're playing tonight. They're playing Calgary.
They're losing right now.
Well, surprise, surprise.
4-2.
Surprise, surprise. I mean, that's always a good bet. You know, you bottom 2 goals. You know,
yeah.
Yeah, and that's the bet to take. You know, they're probably got minus 180 with the 2 goals, but still, you'll get $4.
I'm sorry, 5-2. So
Look at that. You would have cashed out right there with a winning bet. So again, but we knew what the
Yeah.
Blackhawks do. They're rebuilding. We know where they're at. So no one's mad at the Blackhawks.
no, I'm not mad. I'm a little disappointed. I'd like to see like maybe 5-game wins, but eventually in
No,
time.
I want them to tank. I want them to tank. I want the number 1 pick again. I think that's the way it should be. Like, and I know baseball, there's nothing to talk about baseball with, well, on the south side there isn't, but I know we'll talk about it north side in a little bit, but it should be, if you're the worst team and you're trying to build, that's how you do it, through the draft. But you also have to have these limits in sports where you have to spend a floor, and there has to be a cap, a hard cap. And I know you guys have been saying that too, because my Dodgers have been spending money, monopoly money here and there. Yes, I agree. There should be a hard cap and there should be a floor so that everyone is competitive at the same time.
Yeah.
Wait, did he change his opinion? No, just kicking the can 20 years down the road.
Hey man, change the rule. Change the rule then. If the rule is there, use it. So many teams have done it with other players. The Dodgers are just abusing the hell out of the rule. I can't be mad at them for using it. The Cubs can use it. You can go get Roki and pay him whatever
he's
you
out.
want. Hey,
Yeah,
there you go.
unfortunately, there were some X news that came out that Roki doesn't want to come to us.
Nope. He's gonna go with the Dodgers, San Diego, and
Toronto. Toronto.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, those are the 3 teams.
Which Toronto will be the next team to be announced. They're out.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that might be. They might go there.
Toronto has to be all in this year because I don't think they've re-signed Guerrero. They have a lot of players that are like on expiring contracts this year, so it's like, are they going to go all in or not? And most of the time, Toronto is never going all in. I can see Toronto trading Guerrero to the Yankees, just for the Yankees to be competing with the Dodgers and the Padres. It's going to be like very East Coast, West Coast heavy when it comes to the teams. I don't see anybody in the NL or AL Central competing for a title. It's going to be the West Coast. You got Texas is a good team. They had injuries this year. The Dodgers, the Padres, even Arizona. It should have a bounce back year. But you're looking at the Mets, the Yankees. I can't even say none of the Florida teams. They're just hot trash.
I just hope he doesn't go to the Dodgers. I mean, come on. You can't have 7 like all-star pitchers,
If you make the right deal, you can. I do it all the time on MLB The Show.
I know you do. But I don't know. Everything is backwards. Everything is confusing in this world. Everything's on fire. I don't know. I'm not happy. I'm like numb at this point. I don't feel a thing with any of these teams anymore.
But that's your normal. You guys are emo guys. You don't feel anything.
I know, but this is worse. This is depressed at its finest. No, I'm going to go to Wrigley Field still. I'm still going to cheer them on. They're going to lose. They're like, I don't know. Oh, great. We have Sammy Sosa at the Cubs convention. Yay. Like, I'm glad he's back. But, if that's what you're going to hold everyone, camaraderie and bring all the fans to think that we're going to be competitive this season, I don't know. Is he going to strap on? Is he going to get in the field?
Whoa.
I mean, this team needs a lot of help here.
Sponsored by Blue Chew.
So put on his cleats, man.
Yeah, I don't think Sammy can play anymore.
No, he can't. But I don't know. I just think we're again mediocre teams.
I mean,
Yeah.
Sammy could probably take batting practice with his corked bat. I mean,
he can play DH, right? Can he still
Why
get
not?
ahead of a fastball? I don't know.
no, I don't think he can get ahead of a fastball. But like I said, batting practice where they're throwing 70-mile-an-hour lobs. I think he could do it with a corked bat for sure.
Possibly. I'm not going to put it past the guy.
I mean, hitting's hitting. I don't think that he would need the cork bat. I think he can put some dingers out there. I don't think they'd be bombs like they used to be when he was on the juice. But yeah, I think he can put.
I got the
one
juices. So I'm overall just frustrated, and Cubs aren't going to get any more pitching, no more bats. I think this is the team that we're going to be stuck with for 2025.
I'm hoping now that they have lost the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes that maybe they can pick up a player or two still.
I don't know.
I think they were like in a holding pattern. Like, are we going to get him or are we not going to get him? And then now that we know that we're out, hopefully we can sign some people.
Jack Flaherty's out there. There's a bunch of pitchers out there.
What'd you say?
Trevor Bauer.
Oh, yeah.
Trevor Bauer's still out there.
Yeah, we got to tag Trevor. We got to tag Trevor on this because, we've been fans. We've been saying this for about 4 years now. Sign Trevor Bauer. Come on, bring him to Chicago. Doesn't matter what team you're on. Just bring him to Chicago.
It'd be fun to watch. It wouldn't be. Yeah.
Doesn't matter what team he's pitching on.
I would purposely go to a White Sox game if he was pitching.
100%. Yes.
I would go. I'd watch him
super early, watch him throw in the bullpen, do his long toss. I'd be there. I'm all for it.
Drinking Modelo's, eating hot dogs. That's
talk about entertainment right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's one of those
chicken tenders too. We'll add the nachos, everything. Just give me everything.
If he's willing to sign for $1 million, I mean, why not? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, either that or he's going to sue the MLB by this year. Because I mean, if he doesn't get signed by a team this year, what are they doing? I know it was the Mexican League or whatever, but I mean, he was still 13.
He was lighting up Jose's over there.
Right. It's one of those, even if he comes up here and he's mediocre.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me he's not better than what the Cubs have now? Like he's got to be better than 2 or 3 guys that we have.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right, we got Chris Foster chiming in about the Bears. Let me see if we put it up here. It only took Caleb 13 games to break the Bears' 100-year-old sack record. 7 most pass attempts and 31st in pass offense, dead last. In completion percentage and yard per pass, said he was 6'2". He's a liar. Then he goes on to say Fields sucks. I had 3 road wins and 6 starts. Caleb had 1 road win in this year in 17 starts. Crappy Fields is in the playoffs, and Caleb got 5 wins.
Okay.
Fields is on the bench.
Yeah, I was going to say, first off, Fields isn't even playing. Second off, Fields ran for 1,000 yards. Caleb did not. Yes. The offensive line didn't go through 24 different or 25 different combinations last year. We did this year. Did the offensive line get worse from last year to this year? Absolutely, it did. Did we have better targets in the way of wide receiver, tight end, running backs, etc. for Caleb? Absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, how many times did I sit there and watch the game where Caleb gets the ball, goes to turn around to hand the ball off to a running back, and somebody's already in the backfield? You can't survive like that. I'm sorry. And to sit there and blame Caleb when it is directly Poles' problem is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know who you are or what games you're watching, but all the blame is on Poles.
Yes. Yeah, instead of getting all the nice rims to put on the crappy car that has like no floor and no brakes and all that.
It's got shag carpet in there.
Yeah. You know, got sounds and rims, but the car doesn't turn on, you know, half of the time. And essentially that's it. You don't have the engine for it right now. So blaming a rookie for the faults of a GM who was an offensive lineman who's been picking projects left and right, it's hard to put that on a rookie. It's really hard. And then you want to go back and say, well, he was so and so versus top tier defense in college. That's great. That's great, but he was still the number one prospect by far every scout that was out there, every expert that was out there that said he was hands down the pick to take.
Not only that, it's one of those, like, it amazes me that I can sit there and turn on the tape and watch Caleb go through progressions and actually make the reads and distribute the ball to where it needs to go. Something that Justin Fields could never do.
No.
Let's get this straight. Justin Fields could not read a defense and distribute the ball and make a 1, 2, 3, get the ball out read. And like, I'm starting to think whoever commented is a Packers fan and is just trolling us.
No, he's got a Bears symbol. He's watching us through YouTube, so we appreciate your viewership, Chris. And this is great. This is what this is meant for, to go back and forth, right? Yeah. He's got a bunch of stuff on here. Let's see. Bears offensive line ranked 12th best pass blocking after 18 weeks, tied with Cincy's.
No.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
24% more sacks.
I saw that as well through PFF. And let me tell you something, that they skewed what they were looking at. It was not proper. It was not right. They left out a lot of statistics to get that ranking.
Where I do agree with Chris, where he's saying 80% of Caleb's sacks was when he held the ball for 3.4 seconds. This is because his wide receivers couldn't get off of the defender, or the play calling it's so bad that he has to run around and, you know, get out of the shotgun and get into the flat to be able to throw. It's bad. So yeah, well, I understand your 3.4 seconds, but he's also a playmaker that throws down the field and can identify when to throw it away and throw it down the field, as you've seen his progression this year. He's saying he's the worst pick in NFL history. No, absolutely not. No. Was it Leaf? What's his name from San Diego? Leaf?
Yeah, Leaf. Listen, you can't convince me that Jamarcus Russell was not the worst pick.
Another one. Yeah.
That or Johnny Manziel. So to even put Caleb in those two's range of worst pick ever, no. You can't convince me of that. But
what was his total passing yards for the whole season? Did he hit 4,000?
No, he hit
38 or 3,900. He was right up there with a lot of the quarterbacks, like the quarterback from Houston and the quarterback from Washington.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a bad pick. There was a discussion today. I think it was on ESPN, or not ESPN. Yeah, the radio for Chicago saying that, did we pick wrong? Should we get of Daniels instead?
We don't know.
We don't. We can't justify anything because of the season. I mean,
did you want Mighty Mouse from over there in Carolina? I mean, you again, we've shoulda, coulda, would is a lot. We can do that for every single sport, every single pick. You know, we could have got like JC said last week. You could have got the tight end from San Francisco, and you know, we could have had a stud.
Yeah, George Kittle. Instead, we drafted Adam Shaheen.
Right.
Congrats. Good job, Bears. You know, we 4th round pick. We picked Torrey Taylor. Good job, Bears. Velus Jones.
He got a lot of work in this year.
Velus Jones. Pickens. Should we continue? Our drafting has not been very good for a long time. Yeah, we got some studs in Brisker and Gordon, and Gervon Dexter is okay. He's still progressing and getting better. Without Billings, he was not as effective. But you go down the list and you look at some of the picks that Poles has made.
Mm-hmm.
and or the trades that he has made for Chase Claypool and some of these other guys. Tell me, how's it worked out? We let Roquan walk. Roquan's still an all pro bowler. Our guys are looking older and slower.
Yeah.
Granted,
Chris, what did you want? He says that he hated the Caleb pick. What did you want?
he wanted to stay with Justin Fields.
Oh no.
No, he probably won Bo Nix.
And then we got Izzy chiming in. What's up, Izzy? Saying should have kept Mitchell Trubisky. We signed one of the worst running backs. We had signed.
Caleb finished with 3,541 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, with an overall rating of 87.8. There have also been statistics that have shown that, based on those numbers, as well as with his rushing yards, he finished with only 4 other players this year with those statistics. Those other 4 players, Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes, and Josh Allen.
Yeah. Chris is saying he wanted the haul. He wanted to trade again, the number 1 pick, and get a haul of picks again. And JC did allude to this year that the quarterback class is a lesser class. So
yeah, I would have taken any quarterback last year over this year. Any quarterback. Bo Nix,
yes,
JJ McCarthy. I would have taken any quarterback last year over this year's class. Ward and Shedeur Sanders are not going to be good quarterbacks.
There you go, JC. This is what he wanted.
I want to trade New England, Alt 3rd overall, Odunze 9th, JJ with New England's 2nd. JJ went in the 1st, so how are you getting him New England? Then we have New England top pick this year. I mean, that's great, but if nobody wants to trade with you, then it is what it is. And the bottom line is, we talked about this, that the Bears needed a quarterback. We needed a reset. Justin Fields was clearly not the quarterback for the Bears. I questioned it. I even said, hey, I was one of the people on the fence where, Justin had a good game or two at the very end of the season. Then he had a god awful game, and it was like, no, I'm done. Like Justin was too up and down. And it was one of those, unfortunately, I do believe Caleb has better talent. You watch DJ Moore's, reaction to it. And unfortunately, he, based on his body language, he might disagree with you. But again, to not take a quarterback last year, again, we could sit here and argue that Daniels and Bo Nix. Well, guess what? Bo Nix has a great coach in Sean Payton.
Yeah, which we could have had.
Mm-hmm. You have, Cliff Kingsbury, who
JC's froze there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can honestly say that, I would have liked Cliff Kingsbury. That relationship with him and Caleb would have been great. You don't want to break that up. But also, the job from Minnesota, they're not looking too good right now in this playoff game. So, if you want to interview a couple of those guys.
Yeah, well, don't listen. I still don't know the score. Here we go.
Dude, it's 3-24.
No.
Vikings, they're 3. Like, God.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's halftime right now.
Guys, and Chris and Israel, thank you for chiming in. Thank you. We really appreciate you guys coming out and giving us, something to argue with. Chris is saying I had Caleb ranked number 1 quarterback. I still do, but none of them wanted the haul. He wanted 2 years of getting hauls. In the NFL, I don't think you get those opportunities to do those kind of hauls 2 years in a row. In the NBA, yeah, definitely that's something you can do. In baseball, you can do that But in the NFL, teams want to turn around so quickly that they're not going to give up their future like that. So I don't think New England would have been a good trade partner because I don't think they would have wanted to do that. They've always been pretty smart with their picks. So, JC, you got cut off.
Not even that for me. For me, it's, you know, when you sit there and you decide, hey, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are above and beyond all the other quarterbacks. You know, you look at Bo Nix and some of these other guys. I don't think if Bo Nix went to a worse situation, I don't think he would have done as well as he did this year. You know, like if he ended up in, say, the Jets or he ended up somewhere else. So it's one of those, by trading out of one, who would you have ended up with? To me, if it wasn't Caleb or Jaden Daniels, I wouldn't have traded out. I wouldn't have gone for the haul. That's just my opinion. I think the Bears did the right thing. To me, you know, could we have taken Jaden Daniels at 1 and I would have been happy with it? Absolutely. Would, you know, Caleb at 1? I'm fine with it. But if we traded back, then you're looking at JJ McCarthy, who got hurt in the offseason. We don't even know what he is yet. The quarterback in Atlanta looked okay.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't look fantastic or anything like that. And again, Bo Nix, you know, he's got one of the best like offensive minds in the game, and Sean Payton helping him out. So again, I think the Bears did the right thing. Now, I will argue this, you know, did we mess up in taking Rome Odunze at 9? All right, Chris, I'll argue with you where I would have traded back from 9 and not gone with Rome Odunze, because we could have had Ladd McConkey in the second, who's balling out. So it's one of those where I definitely don't agree with the whole trade back from 1, but I would listen to you and say, hey, you know, if we had traded back from 9 and gotten a haul, I would have been okay with that. But I think we did the right thing in getting one of the franchise quarterbacks, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Again, no, you know, if we can do alternate universes and see how it plays out, that'd be phenomenal. But Chris is saying number 9 doesn't get us alt.
No, but it would have got you Olu Fashanu. It would have gotten you, you know, I know alt is the top guy. But you know, we could have ended up with Olu Fashanu last year. We could have traded back and ended up with, you know, interior offensive lineman or a center. Oh my God, how long have we been talking about we need a center?
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a center on the board and we took Torrey Taylor. You know, Schmidt last year ended up going after Torrey Taylor. He was one of the top 3 centers in the draft. So it's one of those where, you know, unfortunately, again, it goes back to polls thinking he's the smartest guy in the room, that he has the best roster in the NFL. It's going to be hard to make our roster. Really? It sure didn't seem like it, because it sure seemed like you had a bunch of offensive linemen that were the second and third stringers on the LA Rams that were supposed to be your quote unquote starter. Like, come on. You know, again, I could go all day long.
I know you can.
But this is great. You know, this is great. This is what the show is intended for, so we can have back and forth conversation with not only ourselves, but to have fans bring up.
I love the fan interaction. I love it. You know, it makes me think of, you know, other things we could have done as an organization. But unfortunately, you know, I don't think the right thing would have been keeping Justin and taking Alt, because unfortunately, you know, we would have been in the same situation we're in, where now it's, you know, Justin would have been a free agent this year, and or we would have had to have paid him. And the bottom line is, you know, now this offseason, we have 60 million in cap or $80 million in cap, where if we sign Justin, we would have 30 million in cap. Or if we franchise tagged him, we would have 40 million in cap. So we did the right thing by taking a quarterback last year, especially with the quarterback class that's coming out this year.
Chris is saying I've been spamming on all the Bears channels for the past 12 months. Hey, Chris, man, definitely come on every week. You know that we're talking Bears.
We're here every Monday.
Yeah, every Monday.
We start at 7:30 if you want to talk Bears.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so we've talked about a little bit of everything. I did say we're going to do a kind of a short show because I got some stuff to do, and so do the boys. But Chris, thank you for chiming in. Sean, join us next Monday where we talk more Bears stuff. Hopefully, we have a new coach, and then we can start doing mock drafts and all that. Izzy, thanks for chiming in. Love the humor. Yes, we're not getting Matt Nagy back. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, really quickly, I wanted to do what you watching, but I wanted to do is anything you're excited to watch in 2025.
Yeah, a lot of Marvel content. If you're on the show last night, or if you listen to the show for No Water, we're talking about Marvel stuff coming up. For me, it's going to be Daredevil, the Thunderbolts, and Captain America: Brave New World. That's going to be coming out next month for Captain America. Psyched about that. I'm waiting to see the post-credit scene. Hopefully it's Sam recruiting to create a new Avengers team because we're getting close to Doomsday and Secret Wars and stuff like that. So I'm excited for all the Marvel projects.
Yeah, definitely. Izzy, see you. And JC, what are you watching or anything that you're excited to watch?
Cobra Kai is going to be the final half.
Yep.
Coming out here in February, and then Reacher season 3 coming out in February.
I did rewatch season 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So I did rewatch it. I'm getting ready for that. That's also going to be exciting.
Yeah, and I'm going to second everything you guys said because I watch all those things.
So
yeah, definitely everything that's Marvel, everything that's going on with Cobra Kai, and then the movie Reacher, obviously one of my favorite shows. Also the ending of Squid Games this summer, definitely something that's coming out. It's just nonstop content that should be coming out. And I know if you go listen to No Water Weekend, this latest episode, we did talk about the DC movie, the new Superman movie, and our first impression of that trailer. So go ahead and go over there and switch after that. Now that you're done with this show, switch over to No Water on the Weekend and listen to that episode. It's a great episode. We talked a little bit about everything, and it got a little out of hand for a little bit, but
it always does when the three of us are together. So it's just fun.
Definitely. Yeah. All right, boys, let's cut it off right here, and we'll be back.
If I could take
go ahead.
real quick, I had a coworker potentially pass away yesterday, and I just want to say something to everybody out there. If you are struggling, if you have any depression, if you have any issues, please seek help. It's one of those. I've now had a couple people pass away due to things of that nature. It's always sad. You do have people that care about you out there. I know sometimes people get in a dark place. They feel there's no way that they can get their head above water. But you do have people that care about you, whether it's family, whether it's, coworkers, friends, reach out to anyone that you feel comfortable reaching out to, and ask for help. Ask for anything that anybody would be willing to help you, deal with, whether it's spending an hour on the phone talking, whether, whatever you need. Don't feel afraid to ask for help.
You can call 988, text 988. You can chat with them live. They have a website. So reach out to a professional at 988. So they're available 24 hours in English and in Spanish. If you need to reach out to some of your friends, I'm pretty sure they'd rather hear from you and listen to whatever's going on than to go to your funeral. So we've all lost friends to suicide, and it's never a. It's always of kind of the people that are left behind are always wondering what could they have done to stop it, but it's always a sad situation. So JC, sorry for your loss of your coworker.
Yep. Yeah, no, like I said, it's sad day because, unfortunately he was younger than I am. And, he was going through a hard time, and, I don't know the details yet. But he did have some, substance issues.
Okay.
I won't go into too much detail. But it's one of those where, he was just having a hard time. And I know that, there's a lot of coworkers that I have today that are, we got the news last night while we were at work, and it's one of those, everybody was kind of upset. They let us go home early after, that happened, and we got word. But again, it's one of those situations where, you don't have to go alone. For any of my friends out there listening, my phone's always on 24 hours a day. Call me anytime, text me anytime. If I don't respond to a text right away, call me. Because if I'm asleep at 3 a.m, I don't care. I'd rather answer a phone call and talk to you for 2-3 hours than to wake up to a text message that I've now woken up to 2 or 3 times, from different situations of this nature. So again, anyone, reach out to whoever.
Definitely. All right. That's all for today. Thank you, everyone who has been watching, who's been listening, who's been supporting us through 230 episodes. Thank you to our sponsor, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, at Grit Clothing Company. You know what to do when you get to gritclothingco.com. Check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, IG, everything. Or just go to 606media.com and you can find all of our shows on there. If you have something interesting to argue about, or a certain hot topic, or even a food recommendation, hit us up at truechicagosportsfans@gmail.com. All right, for JC and Steven, I am Big Z. We'll see you next time for episode 231. And until then, be good to each other for the love of sports.